This is Keith Jackson from the great beyond, and let me tell you about the biggest game of Game Week 2 in college football. You know and I know and everybody knows that Saturday night under a possum hunting moon in Tuscaloosa, we'll have a real ding-dong dilly of a dandy going on down there. It's a shame this game's not at Legion Field. It's the Longhorns of Texas and the Crimson Tide of Alabama. And let me tell you, when those big houses come through that tunnel, well, say anything can happen, and almost anything usually does. This game may be decided by the big uglies on the offensive and defensive fronts. And my question to you is, can Texas run the football better than the 79 yards they had last year with Bijan Robinson? Whoa, Nelly.
That was really good.
That was good.
Really
I feel like
good.
I should be wearing a fedora I feel like we should make the podcast black and white, or at least like a lot grainier, like a 70s filter. I don't know if producer Cam can get that for us, but
it's also just a reminder that's excellent voice talent, but guys, truly through AI, all things are possible. I think,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
I didn't even know what the question was until like 90% in, because I was so blown away by how good it sounded.
It was very.
If you're good at impressions, leave a voicemail. We'll play it.
That's right. We will.
We're right for Coach Prime impressions. This man says, now you got to understand, more than any person I've ever seen in my entire life. So if you're gonna impersonate Coach Prime, you gotta understand. You need to drop it. You gotta understand. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna say no on this one. I'm not buying. I think Texas wins this game, but I don't think that they're gonna do it running on this front. I think you're gonna put it on Quinn Ewers' shoulders. I get he didn't look fantastic against Rice. It's okay. I'm sure they saved a lot, and I think we saw enough from him last year that. I think they're going to try. I think you got to do enough to stay honest. I think you can extend the run game, run some bubbles, get some guys in space, do some creative things. But no, I don't think you're going to have a ton of run here, but I think you can still win the game. I think this game's going to be low scoring.
Covering that game last year in Austin, Bijan played well. Like, he played well, and he did some stuff in the best game too. He ran really hard. And it was like 21 for 57. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. it was like he was going up against an NFL defense. Really, that's what it looked like. And he gave a great effort, though. I think for Sark, it is going to be essentially creating run game out of the screen game. I think it's going to be what they're doing on the perimeter with Worthy and all of their wideouts. It's, can you create, with Keelan Robinson and some of their faster backs, can you create some stuff with running back screens? The status of CJ Baxter will be really important for this game. He left the opener against Rice. But yeah, Texas is kind of just like Alabama, kind of in this spot where they're going to throw a bunch of different running backs at this and try to block it a little bit better than they did last year when they had a pretty young offensive line.
All three running backs that they used in the opener are sophomores or younger, right? I believe that Jaden Blue and Jonathan Brooks are sophomores, and CJ Baxter's a true freshman.
Right. Brooks has been with him a couple of years, and Baxter's a true freshman.
They might be.
Keelan Robinson's a veteran, but he's more of the scat back guy. Yeah.
But I kind of like Texas's 3-man team back there, and for as good as their offensive line is supposed to be this year, I don't think they played very well against Rice. And that's the most concerning thing to me about this game. If you watched it, it just seemed off. Now, also too, like, I've been watching college football long enough to know that what you see in one game doesn't always translate into the next one. You might like watch this game and be like, oh, well, this offensive line's not that good. And then the next game they could just like ball out. So I'm excited. I'm going to this game. And I've never been more excited to cover a game. Well, there've been a few, but this is like really exciting. The spread is 7.5. And I feel like if Texas can't run the ball at all, that scares me a little bit. You want to be able to move the chains a little bit. And I like the idea of, setting up the run through the screen game. And I think that they've got a lot of talent back there. And really their offensive line just has to show up, because if Alabama's defensive front just eats the entire day, I don't think they have a chance to win the game.
Do you love that number, 7.5?
I do. I do. I'm scared. I think that I will be honest with you guys. I think Texas getting its ass kicked could be on the table. Like,
it's on the table.
It's on the table. It's like all this preseason chatter of, Alabama doesn't have an offensive skill player. They can't score a lot of points. I watched the Western Kentucky game. I'm like, oh my God. Or not, was it, who did they play?
Middle Tennessee.
Middle Tennessee. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know why I said Western Kentucky. And I was like, oh my God, David, you poisoned me. You're wrong. Like, it's like just Milroe. Like, yeah, a buddy of mine made this point. I think it's kind of true. It's like Milroe was supposed to look this year like Jaden Daniels looked. I think that's what people were thinking. Like that would be, an explosive runner, a guy who can make some plays on the ground, but, missed a lot of throws and isn't very accurate. It's like he was very, very accurate. And I know it's easier to be accurate against a team that doesn't have as much talent as you. But 7.5, 2 scores in a game that's supposed to be one of the better scores. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, it's scary.
I like Texas. I think
7.5.
Texas wins this game outright. I still do. I think there is a potential that Alabama just comes out and shuts everybody up. I think that's definitely possible. At the end of the day, they're still the most talented team that we've ever seen on paper.
And in the history.
In the history of the sport. So like that's not an insignificant factor. But I think they have deficiencies on the offensive line. They're going to limit them. But Milroe can make some plays. I think the offensive line will hurt them. I think Texas is going to be able to cover their receivers, not the spread, or both. But I think ultimately, like this is going to be a low-scoring game, a really physical game. It's going to be a they hitting out there game. And we'll see. I think Texas is going to be up for this. I think they're going to win it. And I think they're going to drop a very stupid Big 12 game or two down the stretch. That's what I think. I've been saying this all season, and I'm sticking with it.
Let me just tell you. And then, Max, I'm really curious about your opinion because you're really keyed in on this. If Texas somehow wins this game, my keyboard, it's going to be on fire. Higher.
It's only going to make
the downfall worse.
The inexplicable loss in October that much funnier.
I'm looking forward to a text from Oven on Sunday morning where I wake up to where he said, "Did you see Ari wrote 4 stories last night?"
Listen, Max, I got a 6 a.m. flight out of Denver on Sunday. You're not getting any text from me.
I'm driving. So I got a cute
Ari's driving, which I cannot wait to hear the recap next week.
So because I didn't know I was going to the game until flights out of Dallas to Birmingham were $1,200. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to drive. And I'm going to leave on Thursday night after we put the baby down to cut into the drive. I'm staying in Shreveport by myself on Thursday night, which also is the same night as the beginning of the NFL. So I'm going to place a wager. I'm going to prop up the NFL game. I'm going to drive 3 hours. I'm going to get to Shreveport. I'm going to see some cards on Thursday night. A little bit of a man night, an alone night. I'm going to sleep in. I'm going to drive to Birmingham and then cover the game on Saturday. And then it's either going to be a long drive home or a really, really, I might just if Texas wins, I'm only listening to 80s rock all the way home.
Ari, pay your respects to the Independence Bowl on Friday, please, for all of us.
I will. Yeah, you got to drive by it. But I think that it's going to be revelatory for both teams. I think it's a very instrumental game to understand which if maybe both, maybe it'll be a great game. I don't think either team feels like it has to win to make the playoffs still, but is one team going to kick the other team's ass, or is it just going to be a great game between two gladiators? I'm very excited to see.
There's something to be said, Ari. Listen, how many times a year does Texas circle somebody, get up for somebody? It's OU, and then sometimes they play a big-time non-conference game. And I think that when you get a focused, motivated Texas team that feels like it's an underdog and slighted, especially a team that's this talented, we don't see that version of Texas very often. A Texas that doesn't have anything to lose and has everything to gain. It's usually the inverse of that most of the time. So we'll see.
Here's my hot take on this one. I think Bama's going to win. And I think my big question mark this weekend is I actually think everything around Quinn Ewers is really good. And I'm just not sure about Quinn Ewers yet, and I think this is the game, right? I mean, this is the game. I think the thing that you saw from Shadur Sanders in Fort Worth is the thing you want to see from Quinn Ewers of man, he is just calm, in control, great with rhythm, taking what's there. You know what I mean? That kind of performance.
If someone's open, they're hit.
Yes.
Right. That is the performance we need to see
Daniels
from Quinn Ewers
to do that.
For 4 quarters, a healthy Quinn Ewers. I think, there were some big games last year, but Red River, obviously Oklahoma was a mess. The bowl game against Washington, Texas is missing a bunch of players. This is the moment for Quinn Ewers. If you want to go out and prove that you are an NFL dude, this is the game to do it. And his performance, good or bad, I think it will be very instructive.
Does it kind of feel to you, Max, that it's if it doesn't happen on Saturday, then it's kind of hard to believe that it will? Are you at that point? I'm kind of there.
Well, because
believe it
you
will
want-
in terms of like getting drafted, or what do you mean?
No, I just mean in terms of him like fulfilling the prophecy of what he was supposed to be.
Well, sure.
Like if he's not ready yet to,
if you want to be like a Heisman guy, then yeah, I think.
Yeah, I'm talking about Heisman, savior,
Yeah.
Best recruit of all time, the guy that kind of got the ball rolling a little bit on people not loving Tom Herman's,
Well, what if he's like?
guidance of the-
I think if he struggles on Saturday, I think he can be like still be like Sam Ehlinger, like a really good player who wins a bunch of games and maybe isn't like elite tier.
Big 12
If he's not an
game, I think that would be
elite
the
tier great player on Saturday night, then he's not going to be an elite tier great player. Like,
Maybe.
I mean, when I
I
say
mean,
that,
that's
like,
influenced a little by who's behind him, I suppose. But
You're
no,
very impatient with elite guys, Ari.
Yeah, that is true.
We've gone through this. Kenny Pickett, Jordan Travis, all these. We've pointed to guys.
Kyle McCord can't put up 50 on Indiana. Is it just not going to happen for him?
Well, I mean,
if he loses to Notre Dame, I think he should quit football and go sell insurance somewhere outside of Cincinnati.
He's been in. This is a third year. Like, if Quinn Ewers was going to be a legitimate, like, bona fide star, I'm talking top 15 draft pick here. Like, I think that we should see a glimpse of that on Saturday. I think that like this idea of waiting until year 3 to make a judgment on somebody at the quarterback position is just wrong now.
I don't think it's not waiting to make a judgment. I just think that some guys can progress at different paces. Some guys are just like unbelievable overnight. And I think that the odds are not great if he struggles, that he becomes like, the highest rated prospect in the history of, sport, translating to becoming a number 1 pick and a Heisman winner and all these things that are probably on the table for him. I'd say it's unlikely, but I don't think it's like impossible that you can just write it off if he doesn't play well against
this guy was up. I mean, did it take a minute for Drake May? Did it take a minute for Caleb, like the 2 best quarterbacks in the sport?
Well, but I'm not saying that it doesn't for some guys, but we've pointed to guys that it does take a while for sometimes.
Yeah.
I think, Ari, for me, the judgment, when I say that, it would be more not on outcome, maybe more just on performance and the big
poise
game.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. They might lose
Quinn
the game,
can have
but
a
he
great
still might
game
play
and
awesome.
loses.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't mean he's toast by any means.